This region around the Great Lakes has been called the heartland. When it comes to agriculture, there's hardly an area in the world that compares.
Everybody, just hold on. I don't know what we're going to have here.
There's a lot of self-proclaimed geniuses out there that know the national yield, but they're all wrong.
Manage money, piling in.
Double digits higher.
So at this point, we're in kind of uncharted territory.
There's a lot of money on the sidelines.
So that was a crazy one.
That's what brings the viewers back. That a boy.
Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, May 13th, and this is the AgYield War Room. I'm Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating today's session. As always, if you get any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a line in the chat area. I'll be sure to get to it during the show. Overnight markets here, July corn down 3/4 at $4.79 1/4. July soybeans were up $0.015 at $12.28 1/4. And July Chicago wheat was down 3 at $6.76. No export sales announcements here this morning. We did get April PPI numbers. It's up to 6%, well above the estimates there. They were looking for a number closer to 4.9%. Core PPI 5.2%. Again, almost a full point above the estimates there. So now, having gotten CPI yesterday, both CPI and PPI are now at 3-year highs. So definitely seeing the effects of the war there on costs and certainly energy leading the way. So with that, guys, good morning. Today, just a little bit ago, President Trump landed in China ahead of his bilateral meetings with President Xi. Those meetings will take place tonight at 8:15 Central Time. So markets will be open. I'm sure there'll be a lot going on in terms of news that gets out there, and have to see what comes about there. I guess big news yesterday. Wheat stole the show on the USDA report yesterday. Limit up move. And we'll jump right in there, Dustin. I think that much to everybody's surprise, I don't know that limit up was in the cards for anybody there, but wheat definitely stole the show. So why don't you give us a few thoughts, and then we'll throw it around the room.
Yeah, it did. Wheat stole the show. A smaller yield in production than everyone is anticipating. I guess one of the surprises would be on our end that Chicago wheat is getting a lot of the same strength that KC is, and you have to kind of read between the lines. If they're dropping yield that much, it's most likely in those areas in the West that are going to see the bigger drawdowns. They don't do a crop type specific report until July 10th on which wheat is what they think hard red wheat's getting for a yield versus soft red. But it's heavily implied that the drought conditions in the West are what's causing this, and we're still sitting at 50 some plus cents. I think we're up to 60 cents today. Premium hard red over Chicago, and I think that's probably where this could be just funds that were under positioned on the Chicago side. Maybe they're re-upping their purchases, getting out of any short legs that they have there. Maybe even getting long. But for me, I think that's a clear sign that this is a hedging opportunity for those that are expecting big wheat crops in the East, just because it's the highest price we've had yet this year, and wheat looks good again. It's profitable for a lot of people. So yeah, will that carry into any corn strength? I think this is the meetings in China will be a big thing for ag. Obviously, there's many CEOs over there, only one ag CEO. So who knows what the headline's going to say. But anonymous sources to I think it was Reuters and Bloomberg both reported that they were considering corn and sorghum purchases in addition to soybean purchases. So that wasn't really something that I had expected to start seeing. And now that we're starting to get some of these rumors float, if we do start to see that, all of a sudden corn, I think, could look pretty good for next year's balance sheets, holding to what the USDA wrote down.
Yeah, Justin, I think that's a good segue. You made mention yesterday that with a 183 starting yield to a sub 2 billion bushel carryout, I mean, there's we call it a path here, potentially if we got to grow a big crop again. I guess what's your take from yesterday?
Oh, yeah, I mean, a lot to kind of digest. I guess I wasn't
super, I guess the limit up move I wasn't predicting, but I wasn't shocked by the, the ratings are so bad out in the West that they should have cut yield. It should be one of the worst crops that they've had in a while. Now they did, to the point about the classes of the different classes of wheat, they did mark down soft red wheat crop. So you can kind of see percentage moves. Like there is some really bad areas like the Carolinas, like in the Southeast, that's been in a bad drought as well. So the central states, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, look good. We have clients that have really good looking yields there. To Dustin's point, I think, by far the biggest problem is hard red wheat, and it can't be, substituted with soft red, right? It's just totally different classes, what you need it for. It's one of the smallest hard red wheat crops in modern history. Just with the, constant drawdown of acres that we've had over, that trend over the past several decades, really. And then to have this kind of yield, we're at super low levels. Now, what happens there, I don't know, but we do have, to Dustin's point, basically we're on 2-year highs going into harvest. So if you have good yields, I mean, this is just, these kind of opportunities don't happen very often. Even if you decide you need to buy calls or something out forward, just to, if you have FOMO, fear of missing out on a much higher move, a tremendous amount of dollars have just come to a lot of the wheat growers that do have good crops. So well said on that, Dustin. As far as Dan, the report, I still look at like bigger picture, corn's just in a better position globally from a stocks to use perspective, and we had a giant amount of acres last year, giant crop. We've got huge demand that's absorbed a lot of it. Now, they did raise Argentine corn crop yesterday. They have a big Brazilian corn crop written down, which I think that still has to be proven in the, since most of it's second season safrinha crop. And there's been some dryness areas down there. There's been some concern. So I think that could be a little bit into question on how big that crop is. But needless to say, I think if you look at things that are more burdensome, I mean, the soybean balance sheet's way more burdensome in my opinion. Now it's the soybean market's 100% relying on a trade deal with China, in my opinion. Now it's got good crush margins. It's, so that the domestic demand has been fantastic for sure. But that, that difference between making us have a north of a 500 million carryout and sub 300 is 100% dependent on China.
Wow.
And you have to argue that it's 100% dependent on China buying beans at uneconomically high prices to the tune of a couple dollars a bushel. So those are the kind of odds that I don't, I'm not going to be the first one that they call and say if it's going to happen or not. So you're just kind of betting on, that I think right now. And I do think there's the risk of having more bean acres when it's all said and done this year. So I'm more of I think corn and wheat are kind of the most friendly here, and beans are loaded up long, and they could be right if we have a weather problem or if there's a, who knows what comes out of these meetings, to Dustin's point. I still think when you have Elon Musk, Jensen on Air Force One going there, and another 15 of the top CEOs in the country, I just don't think soybean imports or sorghum imports are going to be one of the top priority items.
No.
Personally. Maybe they throw it in there, maybe they bundle it in there, and how about you buy some for the farmers or something? But I just don't think that's the top priority here.
Right.
So
and
I'm kind of on the, we're at kind of highs of the moves of everything. July options kind of look cheap. I'd be getting something on or some protection and hope we continue to go higher.
And new crop beans over $12 again on the board,
Right.
So yeah, if you put a gun to your head there, Justin, I mean, there's a couple dollar risk there, if you had to guess, right. Based on, like what's going to be disappointing, I guess, if, it's not going to be just any purchase, right? I mean, it's got to be pretty significant, doesn't it?
We've already, talked about, 25 million tons for this marketing year and next marketing year. And the debate of if there's going to be an additional 8 on top of the 12 for last year. I mean, I think that calendar, we're at May 13th, I just think that's, go make China buy more old crop beans, at a $2 premium, I just doesn't make any sense to me. Not that, I mean, we've done crazier things, obviously, so it could certainly happen, but all that would be doing is just, you know, Cargill, maybe that's why Cargill's there, it's just arbitraging $2 beans. Is really what would happen, right? It's just move beans from one continent to another, but they're still there. So, yeah, I don't know, Dan. It's a good question. I don't, you know, maybe we're missing something, but it sure seems overpriced to me here. Outside of, you know, could have a weather market. Yeah, I mean, you could have a weather market, and then none of that matters, and the funds are loaded up, and farmers have sold too much, and you rally to $14 or something. So that's, you know, but that's every year if you have a weather market.
Yeah, that's just the bean market.
Yeah.
Dustin, you unmuted yourself. Do you have something to add?
No, not really. I think, you know, just Trump. Maybe it was because prices got really low again for beans, but he did that ad hoc. I just talked to and we agreed another 8 million old crop, which didn't happen, right? Like he does, he seems to want the best deal. I did hear that like a lot of those CEOs got like really, really late invitations, which I find weird. It's like, are they there just for, you know, a crowd? Because unless they've all been working on separate deals that you know finally kind of came to an agreement right before this, but a lot of those invitations were like in the 11th hour, is what I heard.
Well,
So,
and some of that was, they were talking about that this morning, and Dustin, and some of that Besant met with his counterpart last week, and highlighting, you know, the agenda and everything like that. And I think it was a post that meeting, I think it was him lining up who was going to be significant to make that deal. And
sure.
that's,
I'm sure there's deals. They wouldn't just come there without a reason. Yeah.
No.
So I would just say if there is a softening on Taiwan, if that's the card that's being played right now, that we're going to lower a certain amount of arms sales, like there better be a bunch of really good things that go along with that. And I think there would be, you know, so
that's going to be fascinating to know what comes out from the AI piece. I mean, that's going to be front and center, right? I mean, we're both racing for AI.
Well, I mean, I just think to that point, you're coming off of, you know, just like look at big charts, right? You're coming off of low demand building years. You know, you've got some excitement in the market. You got funds going your way. You've got kind of some meetings that we've never seen happen before. And, you know, but the potential outcomes there's a wide array of what could happen. So I think if you look at where options are priced, I think they're pretty cheap compared to what those outcomes could be. You know, so just make sure you're okay if something does happen. And like if something super bullish happens, you know, that's not a risk.
yeah.
Right. Like that'd be great. You know,
we
know what to do in bull markets. You know, hey, here we go. Right.
Yeah.
Risk is what tractor to buy. I mean, you know, like and just get some protection and then just hope that all these things go our way.
It's like the first morning in 30 days that we haven't talked about the Strait of Hormuz.
We can talk about that.
Yeah, this is how bizarre this day is.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, Ben, what's on your mind? We've thrown a lot of stuff out here this morning.
I'm sitting here right before you said that about the Strait of Hormuz. I think that's the biggest wild card coming out of these meetings. If he can leverage China to get Iran to bend the knee and put an end to this, I think that would be a quick, maybe a big liquidation in the grains if that were to take place. You have no idea what comes out of it, but I do think that the report yesterday, when you look at corn, and I too believe that we're going to lose corn acres on the June planting report, and I think it's going to be significant. My personal opinion, just seeing people that I work with that have shifted and conversations with people in the Delta. So I think that we do have an environment where we can latch on to a weather story if it were to materialize. And I think that, unlike the last 2 years, is kind of exciting because corn balance sheet, after what we went through planting 99 million acres and then having 186 bushel yield in 1 year, we're back to where like there's some possibilities. And I do think that corn gets bought on call it a 40 cent, 50 cent break in new crop. So I think that possibility is there that if we get some issues, people will respect it a lot more. And we'll see. I think wheat yesterday is a rarity that you would see that kind of a disconnection from corn and wheat, even though wheat had a pretty shocking report to get it all out there at once. The corn really felt kind of reluctant to participate. We're sitting here, a nickel off our highs for the move. We get a report like that and we just can't push through there. So we'll see. I think Marco will give this a chance to see what kind of news we get out of these meetings. When will these meetings conclude? Does anyone know?
Meetings at 8:15 tonight, and then they got a tea, they've got a lunch. He's going to be on the ground for approximately 46 hours, and then he'll be back. Is the agenda.
So Friday-ish.
So depends how it goes.
Yeah, it could be quick. You never know with him. It could be 12.
Yeah.
Very good. Ryland, let's talk livestock real quick here. Cattle super nervous about this import tariff deal. We'll see what shakes out there. And then hogs continue to struggle yesterday. So what are your thoughts here this morning?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're the delaying of the executive order signing definitely is freaking everybody out. The fact that they said that they were fine tuning the details. Market didn't like that. I mean, we saw some pretty active liquidation over this week. Open interest down 2,200 contracts. So yeah, the market's still in a really uneasy spot. But like you've got cash trading 260 in Kansas and the north, so the basis has just gone parabolic. It's essentially a $12 difference between where cash is trading and where June futures are at right now. So just goes to show there's a bit of a disconnect here overall. But yeah, I think a lot of this is sentiment driven. We're in the midst of the roll, so you just got a lot of money flow. I think that's influencing price direction at this point as well. So we'll see if maybe we can get some kind of a rebound, maybe some clarity on when this is going to be signed, if it's going to happen, the details. Maybe that'll help clear things up. Maybe that help cool things up. But yeah, overall, I think it's the producers around the country are not really happy about a bunch of foreign South American beef getting imported into the country. So that's going to be probably an ongoing battle in the interim. So we'll see if it has any real impact on prices overall once if it does in fact become the deal gets signed. So we'll see about that. There's also been some chatter of, some possible support from this meeting between Xi and Trump. So we'll see if there's anything meat related on there. I have not really heard anything at this point regarding that, but I think it's something to pay close attention to as well on our side. But I mean, overall, the market's just been getting beaten up pretty good, trending lower. I mean, you just hope that at some point we actually run into some support here on the futures. And on the hog side of things, just could not get any follow-through support. Managed money is definitely rolling. I mean, you can see that pretty easily on open interest report on the bulletin that we're managed money's rolling from June to July. Open interest up 4,300 contracts. So this is a little bit of a good sign. Cash market has been tightening up a little bit. We were up to 95.19. So you're over $1 higher from last week where we finished up last week. So I think just overall, there's a little bit more of a friendly sentiment from cash here, but we're just not seeing it on carcass. Bellies were down $1.72. Carcass headed down $1.46. So just not seeing that good seasonal support. It just feels like it's relatively flat in the interim. So futures are definitely oversold. I mean, still kind of blows my mind seeing June hogs below $1 here overall, but maybe that's just from just looking at them over the past couple of years here. But WASD didn't really change too much, I think, in the overall sentiment. 2026 pork production forecast is still about 1.5% higher than it was last year, and then 27 expecting kind of near record production there. So I mean, doesn't look like there's any shortage here of pork, and I think overall you've done a lot of damage to the chart. Maybe we start to see things cool down a little bit with the money flow, the golden rule kind of ending here.
Very good. Appreciate the update there. We just came into the open. We got July corn unchanged here at 480. July soybeans are up 0.5 at 1227 1/4, and July Chicago wheat's down 6 at 672 3/4. Tomorrow morning's Thursday. We'll get a weekly export sales report. That'll be out at 7:30 Central. We'll take a look there and share our thoughts in the war room. Also, again, the meeting with Xi and President Trump tonight, 8:15 Central. So I'm sure we'll have some headlines there for tomorrow morning as well. Link in the description, but check out the War Room report if you're looking for a deeper dive into all the things we discuss here every morning on the War Room. Check it out. Also, we'll do our reactions to USDA reports. I know Dustin put out a nice video there yesterday, so check that out. If you got any questions about subscribing, let me know. Give us a call. A portion of those proceeds on the subscription fees will go directly to support the AgYield NextGen Foundation, which, of course, puts on our national scholarship competition. We just wrapped that up here. We've got 5 really deserving winners, and they will be in attendance at our AgYield NextGen Foundation Golf Classic July 27th at Aurora Country Club. The link for signing up is also in the description. It's going to be a great day. Be able to meet and mingle with all the folks here at AgYield from the War Room, as well as meet the scholarship winners and bump shoulders with industry execs. So it'll be a great day. Be sure to check that out. Appreciate everybody that tunes in on a daily basis. If you wouldn't mind, throw us a like and certainly subscribe. We're doing this every day that the markets are open on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live at 8:15 Central Time. Appreciate the thoughts and comments here this morning, guys. It was a good show. Hope everybody has a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
The War Room is presented by AgYield, a risk management partner of American grain farmers for over 50 years. Looking for more in-depth analysis? Check out the War Room report. Our team's knowledge and expertise delivered straight to your inbox every weekday. Each report delivers key market-moving headlines, critical weather updates, USDA report breakdowns, and exclusive video content. All for $50 a month. And most importantly, 10% of every subscription will go directly to support the AgYield NextGen Foundation, a nonprofit investing in agricultural education and the future of farming. To sign up for the War Room report, check out the link in the description or learn more at agyield.com.
Hey guys, Jack here. Be sure to support the show by hitting the like button, leaving us a comment, and subscribing to the channel for all the latest updates. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.